Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Planet CHH. I've been enjoying reviewing some of these Halloween films that I've not talked a whole lot about, and I thought, you know what, it's time to go back to the one Rob Zombie Halloween film that I talked the least about. I'm pretty vocal about my love for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I've gotten to where sometimes I just watch that one instead of watching the first one. So we've got our steelbook of Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 right here, and I just got done revisiting this film. So when this movie first came out, I really enjoyed it. As a matter of fact, I was overjoyed with the film. I was a big Rob Zombie fan, but it's so important to note what the culture was like in 2007. Rob Zombie was huge. He was so popular at the time. He had come off the success of two extremely big records, and then he had Educated Horses. He was on top of the world, and we just came off of the heights of House and then Devil's Rejects. He was atop the masses, which is why the Weinsteins sought him out just to be able to work with him. His name had such identity to it at the time. So I was super excited. Mind you, I was not the Halloween fanatic that I am now. I hadn't even seen practically any of the Halloween films when this movie came out, so this was my first Halloween, so to speak. But then I noticed on the internet you couldn't really say that you were a big fan because this movie had disdain like nothing I had ever seen. It wasn't until Halloween Ends that I saw another Halloween film have so much discourse about it. So I pretty much kept my mouth shut that I was a fan of this movie for a very long time. Eventually I got old enough to where I just stopped giving a rat's ass. But that's neither here or there. It's 2023, this movie came out in 2007. What is that? 15 years since the release of Rob Zombie's Halloween. I just rewatched it. Here we go. Yeah, so the zombie aesthetic is something that I think a lot of people dig, but it's also a really strong flavor that's not for everybody. One of the things I love about Zombies films is his cast and his music. If you're watching a Rob Zombie film and you're a big horror fan, you're guaranteed to see a lot of faces that you'll recognize, like Ken Faree or Sid Haig. And what about Dr. Loomis? How could you possibly replace Donald Pleasence? There's nobody that could replace him. Well, if you are going to replace him, Malcolm McDowell was probably the best option you could have gotten. And to me, it's good that he had never seen a Halloween film before because I wouldn't want anybody to go into this to try to be Donald Pleasence again. But Malcolm's a great actor. He's done some of the most cult, incredible films I'd ever seen. So you knew he was going to do a good job. But the way he took this role, I really liked it. It was different and had its own identity. There's no point in trying to recreate Donald Pleasence in these films. You're just an uphill battle that nobody could win. We get to see a lot of Michael's youth, and we went for that real, as we call it, the white trash approach. Now, a lot of people don't like this stuff, and it's important to note that Zombie was basically making what his childhood was like. He grew up in the carnival business, so these people with these really foul mouths and rough looks, that's what he grew up around. So you kind of direct what you know, I guess, or at least in his case, that's what he did. Now, this has become legendary with the horror fans, and especially the Halloween fans, whether you hate or love it because of the skull F line. And I just find it funny now. It becomes a point where so much time goes by and it becomes such a joke that it's hard to hate it. I just think it's funny when you hear him say that line. And that breakfast scene is about as white trash as anything I'd ever seen. But I think what Zombie was just trying to do was to show that, like, this Michael came from a broken home and it was the perfect recipe for a total monster. An explanation is something that a lot of Halloween fans don't love seeing. It's neither here or there for me. I mean, it is what it is. This Michael comes from a broken home. He has a mom who's a stripper. She's the only one working, quite frankly, so at least she's doing that, you know. The boyfriend's a deadbeat who's just sitting on his ass with a sprained hand. I bet you that hand wasn't even broken. Basically, the first half of this movie is given an explanation to things that we never had before. And, it's fine. I don't really love it, but I also don't hate it at all. The kid who plays Michael Myers has a really interesting look. Not something I personally would have gone for, but I guess what we're trying to show is, like, this kid looked innocent. He looked like he had so much innocence in his life, and it was all taken from him. So maybe his look was somewhat of a metaphor for, the character of Michael Myers, stood a chance at a young age, but, all the elements around him just turn him into a monster. All right, so the cast of this movie's pretty cool. Danielle Harris is back, but she's playing a different role than she did, obviously, from her Halloween 4 and 5 films. We've got Laurie Strode, played by Scout Taylor Compton, and I think she does a great job. Again, I love the fact that she's, playing a more modernized version of Laurie Strode. She's sassy enough, but you can still tell she's the one out of the three that has the convictions and is a little bit more subdued than the rest. But she still seems very authentic and real. She jokes, she makes sex jokes, she's acts like a regular teenage girl would around the time this movie came out. I mean, that's what it seemed like. Which the timeline of this movie is a little bit ambiguous. What year is it supposed to be? I think Zombie purposely made it feel like not necessarily a specific year. that was a stylistic choice, but whenever we get to latter day, I always feel like it's just 2007. Tyler in this role as Michael Myers, I gotta be honest, I really love. Again, it's always a personal taste, but I always prefer the big monster Myers. I feel like I'd rather stand a chance against like Nick Castle or something, but really it's just the brutality and the force that you have behind those bigger guys that I just really, really love. And I actually really love the look of that mask and the suit in this one. Kind of a nitpicky thing to talk about, but I can't help myself. I just think it looks really great. So I really love Tyler Mane as Michael Myers in this. I think he does a great job. He's got a great look, and it was just fantastic. The only thing about Halloween 2007 that I felt was a little bit of a bummer for me this time, and maybe it's just because I've seen the film enough, but I felt like there's a little portion of this movie in the middle that just kind of drags just a little bit. Can't tell how long the runtime is, or I don't remember how long the runtime is on Halloween 2007, but I feel like it could be trimmed down just a little bit. I know that Rob basically put 2 movie ideas that he had into one, so that's probably what I'm feeling, but I would take a little bit of time out of this movie. There is some really great suspense, especially when Laurie is in the Myers house hiding from Michael, and that stuff's really great. And the music scores are great. I think Tyler Bates did the score, and he did a really great job. We used some of John's original score, but some of the more contemporary versions that he did have this like nasty broken dollhouse sinister sound to it that I think works really well, and it's identifiable. When you hear it, you know it's from the Rob Zombie movie. I won't get into the theatrical versus the director's cut kind of stuff. I don't think it's enough to really change somebody's opinion on this film. Maybe it is, but for me, not really. I think the 2007 Rob Zombie film is good. Not great, but good. There's moments that I absolutely love, like Joe Grizzly's scene, and there's other stuff that I think has, quite frankly, just been done better in other movies. But this is so identifiable to a time in my life that I really miss. And admittedly, I'm always going to watch his films through a little bit of rose-colored glasses because this was a great time in my life. It was a great experience seeing this movie in the theater. And I do think it'll probably better with age with a lot of people that probably hated it. As a matter of fact, I've seen some people say that don't like the Blumhouse movies, that they've gone back and really appreciated Rob's movies a little bit more because at least he did his completely own different thing. And that's something to be said. You know, I think Zombie definitely had his convictions and he went for it. And I think in time, those films are going to find more of their fan base for sure. And I think they are, quite frankly. But I think the 2007 Rob Zombie film is good, not great, but with a lot of really cool moments and funny characters. It's a great movie to revisit from time to time. And the 2007 Halloween film is definitely one I'll go back and see again soon. But for now, guys, I'm going to give it 1 thumb up. It's a good movie. What do you think about this film? I mean, it's been 15 years. Have you changed your mind on it at all? Let me know down below, guys. Let's kick off Halloween season with some more good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.